What's up, everybody, and welcome to Hate2Pylon. And I am riding solo today. It's just me. Jonathan will be back next week. But let's talk some Week 8 football in the NFL, but also let's do a little talking of some college football. So today, or this past weekend, it's been some pretty crazy headlines and stories. So to start off with, on Thursday's episode when we did our picks, literally as we started the episode, we had breaking news with Trevor Lawrence testing positive for COVID-19, and with a couple more confirmed tests, he is actually going to be out for the past week's game, but also the Notre Dame game, which is pretty big for Clemson. It was definitely kind of a rough first half for Clemson. Playing from behind against Boston College which is a little surprising, a little shocking. But freshman quarterback who's looking like a pro, he's going to be the next big thing if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play this week. He played well and got Clemson to a dub by the end of the game. Way closer than expected. A lot of people were criticizing the play of Clemson and the other surrounding pieces. As you know, Jonathan is more of the Clemson fan. We definitely have to hear what he has to think about Clemson's performance the last couple of weeks, especially now going into Notre Dame, who's Notre Dame is looking like a hot team. So we shall see how Clemson plays. I think honestly, this would be Clemson's really their first big test of the season, and without Trevor Lawrence, we see how they're going to perform. See if Travis Etienne can really step up. Teams that are stepping up. How about Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers, getting a huge victory this past weekend, 51-0, and they move up the rankings. So they were at 20 last week. They move up 5 spots in the rankings to top 15, which I believe is the Sun Belt's highest ranked team they've ever had. And of course Coastal Carolina's is their highest ever been, because I think just a couple years ago they made the move up to I like to call it Big Boy D1. They were in D1 AA. And this is huge. I mean, the Coastal Carolina has been the kind of America's team, so to speak. And they've been, going viral with things they've been doing, shouting out Pat McAfee, calling him out. And especially with the Stone Cold Steve Austin, like wrestling match they did after the win last week. Honestly, they could be a team making a run for that outside possible spot for the college football playoff. Who knows? Probably not, especially with Pac-12 football starting up this weekend, which should be really exciting. I believe Mountain West has started as well. So this weekend will be the official start of, you can say it's the official start of college football, where all the big conferences are back into play. And we'll see. We'll keep on following the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, as they continue to do well. I mean, even if they don't do well, we're definitely going to be a fan over here of Coastal. Hopefully, they can keep making some waves in the national headlines and keep playing. Man, they're playing great. They're playing good football. So they got a couple of big tests coming up. So we'll see if they can keep it up and keep that offense humming. I mean, 51 points this past weekend was pretty good output, but also 0 points, giving up no points as well. That's pretty good. So that's showing pretty well balanced on offense and defense. So, well balanced for the Coastal Carolina football team. Then we move on to my Georgia football team, Georgia Dogs, who picked up a victory against Kentucky, 14-3. Dominant defensive performance, shutting them out the end zone. Not exactly where I want to see with points output on offense, but Zaire White with his best game. I want to say he had 100 and 43 rushing yards. Let me double check my stats here for you. Hold on. Here we go. Week 9. Georgia. How about them dogs? Them dogs. Them dogs. How about them dogs? Zaire, 26 carries for 136 yards and a touchdown. His best college career game. Stetson Bennett, 9 for 13, 131 yards, 2 interceptions. You do not want to see that at all. Georgia just needs to. We got to make a change at quarterback if we really kind of want to compete for the SEC championship going down the season. I don't know if Stetson Bennett is really going to be the answer. I mean, our run game is good, but it's not as elite as it was with when we had Sony Michel and Nick Chubb, a two-headed rushing attack. We do have some great, running backs, Cesare White and Cook, Dalvin Cook's brother, James Cook. We'll see, how they continue to progress, especially if the offensive line can do well throughout the season. And keep, this running game going. We had 215 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, which is good. But we want to be able to stretch the ball down the field, and 2 interceptions is not going to do it with a 38.9 QBR. That's not a good look for Georgia. We'll see what happens and what decisions that Kirby Smart makes going forward. And going forward, the Wisconsin football team will not be playing football this week. They have their game canceled for the second week in a row due to coronavirus. There's definitely a big impact in the NFL and college football right now, especially in Wisconsin. I believe with the Big Ten rules, if they get 2 positive tests in a row, they have to quarantine for 21 days or be away from the team for 21 days, which is like 3 games, and already with the 8-game season. So that's a huge chunk. And the fact that they were getting this game called off, and I want to say there was another game called off due to the Rona. Let me pull that up. Let me double check for you. The FIU UTEP game also in El Paso was canceled as well. So definitely, the Rona is definitely playing a big factor in these college football games. Teams are trying to chug along as best as they can and trying to reschedule these games and try to push forward with the season. That's kind of the same thing that's been going on in the NFL. A big story that actually kind of happened the last couple of days is a few number of Ravens players have tested positive for the coronavirus. And I want to say the biggest name for the Ravens that tested positive is Marlon Humphrey. Here we go. So we got Matt Judon, Tyrus Browser, Patrick Queen. Oh, wow. Patrick Queen, LJ Fort, Malik Harrison. Those are huge. And then Marlon Humphreys. Those are huge names on that defense. Also, A.J. Dillon, the running back from the Packers, tested positive as well. Those are huge names that for that Ravens defense that struggling against Pittsburgh. And now this week they have a matchup against let's see who they play this week. I want to say it's another division game. Baltimore plays against Colts, which the Colts are a pretty good team. They're hit and miss right now, but they won last week against the Lions, and they're 5-2. So 2 5-2 teams here. And can the Colts capitalize this week? we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the week on Thursday when we do our picks. Um, but yeah, definitely a big blow right now for the Baltimore Ravens, losing 7 defensive players due to COVID. Hopefully, maybe they can be able to clear protocol and get a couple negative tests before the game. Hopefully, got some false positives. But speedy recovery for sure for the Ravens players. I want to say there was a head coach and GM. I don't. It was someone head high up somewhere. I can't remember if it was college or the NFL that tested positive for the. Oh, it was in Denver. John Elway and the GM, they tested positive for coronavirus as well. So definitely wish a speedy recovery for these guys. Um, going forward. Um, Other big news in the NFL, we do have the trade deadline, which was today actually. So the trade deadline we seen. I had it pulled up. I had it. Let's see. I believe there's about 7 transactions that we had. So yeah, 7. Dolphins are the most busy team. But the first trade that we saw to happen, not today, but yesterday, we said the Chargers traded Desmond King to the Tennessee Titans, all-pro cornerback or free safety, not too long ago. So definitely a big help for the Titans in the back end. The Jets trading out Avery Williamson, to the Steelers, who is a linebacker, inside linebacker, which is definitely a big need that the Steelers need, which should help this team out a great deal coming up. The Texans trade Eli Unku, probably saying that wrong, to the Cowboys, defensive tackle there. We got the 49ers trading Kewan Alexander to the Saints, which the Saints definitely need some linebacker help. They're struggling on defense right now. Let's see. Chiefs traded today DeAndre Washington, running back, to the Miami Dolphins. So Dolphins get another weapon. I'm not sure if Kenyon Drake got hurt or not, but another weapon for Tua. Let's see. The Saints also traded away Kiko Alonso in the same trade for Kewan Alexander to the 49ers. And then the Dolphins trade Isaiah Ford to the New England Patriots in rival in division trade, which is quite odd, but at the same time, the Patriots were desperate for a wide receiver, especially not being able to have suit up many. A lot of were injured, so definitely a big help. I think with the COVID rules, it's probably 10 days because I believe that Yannick Ndakwe played this week for the Baltimore Ravens, so definitely won't see him this weekend, but maybe next at the earliest, depending, or maybe 2 weeks from now at the earliest they can play for their team. So not the biggest splash of trade deadlines. I would love to see Will Fuller get traded to the Packers. I think that would have been a great trade, especially for the Packers, who are in dire needs of another wide receiver because they just can't seem to stay healthy on that side of the ball. But apparently that the Houston Texans were asking for a second-round pick. So I wonder if Bill O'Brien Bill O'Brien probably would have just gave it to him for like a 5th-round, 7th-round pick and, gave him probably the left tackle as well, because Packers lost their left tackle for a couple weeks. So yeah, those are the biggest trades. That was the only trades that happened this season. So a little bit of activity, but not too much. Nothing with the big splash that we were always hoping for. Definitely not like the NBA. NBA is always a crazy trade deadline. Also, other news as well. Andy Dalton, who was out last week due to a concussion, he actually got placed on the COVID-19 list. So he will be out again this week, and the new chief for the Cowboys will be starting again. So hopefully, uh, homeboy can produce some offense for the Cowboys. Not a very great showing this past Sunday night. I think who does the Cowboys play this week? The Cowboys play Pittsburgh. That's not a good game to start. Pittsburgh has the best defense in the league right now. Um, that's gonna be a bad watch. There's some interesting matchups this coming week, but we'll talk about that more on Thursday when we do our picks. Yeah, also news. I mean, the Steelers stay undefeated this past weekend. Um, a tough fought game against the Baltimore Ravens. Um, Toughed it out, thugged it out, made plays when they needed to. Um, we'll get more into that game a little bit later because I do have a bit of a hot take I want to say about the Baltimore Ravens. But we'll get into that a little bit later when we go straight full onto the reviews. But that transitions me perfectly into our Pylon standouts for the week. So there's been some pretty stellar performances that we've seen this week in the NFL, and there's some guys who played really well. And the first guy I got to mention because he was on my fantasy team and went straight bonkers for me. And I was not expecting this whatsoever, but I'm very glad it happened. Dalvin Cook went off. So if you had Dalvin Cook in your fantasy league this week, you were eating and you were happy. So for on the rushing side of the ball, Dalvin Cook had 30 carries for 163 rushing yards, three tutties this past weekend. Insane with the ball in his hands, right? Then he also led the team in receiving with two catches, just two, 63 yards, one tutty, one for 50 yards, which was the touchdown. Huge performance, over 200 yards of total all-purpose yards this week. Just a monster. I think he gave about 56 points this week. And my fantasy league is also like a super score. So, but I'm pretty sure he still at least had like 50 points, 50 plus for your fantasy league. 4 total touchdowns. I mean, insane. Insane performance by Dalvin Cook. Hopefully he keeps it up. Maybe the Minnesota Vikings could squeak a couple more victories out. I mean, as long as they're feeding Dalvin Cook 30 times a game, I'm not going to be too mad, especially going in towards playoff time. Also, let's see. The second standout player that we had, of course, I mean, this is not a big surprise, to be quite honest with you. But, I mean, I still got to mention it because, you got to give this man his roses, even though it's against a team that's not very good. But Patrick Mahomes did what Patrick Mahomes was supposed to do on this past Sunday. This man went 31 for 42, 416 yards, and 5 tutties. 5 tutties. I expected them. My prediction for this game last week was 100-0. Not quite 100 points they put up, but 35, 5 touchdowns by Patrick Mahomes. Very good performance by him. I mean, Chad Hidden came in and played through 3 for 4 as well. But yeah, stellar performance. Almost had 3 wide receivers for 100 yards. Tarek had 4 catches for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Mikael Harmon had 7 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. This is the kind of performance we expect from Patrick Mahomes. He is the guy in the NFL. He is the face. So we expect big things, especially against the New York Jets, who are trying to lose. And Trevor Lawrence, our client, Trevor Lawrence, definitely get well soon. But definitely we don't want to see him playing in New York as long as Adam Gase is the head coach. That team is actively trying to stink. Just talked about Adam Gase still being a part of the future. I just saw an article now on NFL.com that he's possibly still part of the future for the Jets, which the Jets must be trying to stink for the next couple of years. Trust the process, maybe it's the trust the process coming to the NFL. They're going to stink for the next 3 years so they can acquire talent, and then maybe try to make a run there. Who knows? I mean, the Dolphins has been doing a good job of acquiring first-round picks, getting talent, and they still keep doing it, and they're growing, and we're seeing good things from the Dolphins so far this season. But we'll talk more about the Dolphins a little bit later. Also, standout player, our Pylon standout, a guy. Well, I'll do him last. DK Metcalf went off in the first half of this game. DK Metcalf he's been playing well. He's a physical freak, continues to shut up the haters. Also, side note, shout out to Russell Wilson doing Russell Wilson things, 4 touchdowns, 27 for 37, 261. Just a little audible mention right there. But we're really talking about DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf had 12 catches for 161 yards and 2 tutties. Insane performance. I can't remember how much he had in the first half, but I'm pretty sure it was majority of his yards he had in the first half. It was some crazy stat because him and Tyler Lockett both did this back-to-back weeks of kind of having over 100 yards in the first half and a touchdown. Something just insane. Of course, when you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league playing for you, I mean, it's hard not to look good. But DK Metcalf doing ridiculous things. Tyler Lockett is doing ridiculous things. That offense is continuing to be great. Seattle 6-1 right now. Much to do with Russell Wilson, but also with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett shouldering the load. Also, our last pylon standout for the week, a guy who I picked up this week on my fantasy football team on a whim. I had no other quarterbacks really to pick up, and I was very frustrated with him in the first half. I mean, I could have sworn I was like, hey, can you just give me like 5 points, 10 points, please? He had about 5 fantasy points in the first half and didn't look really well. It was rough sledding. I was like, I wanted to keep my lead, against my team. So I wanted to, I wanted to win convincingly because I had quick side note. This week was me versus my older brother in the fantasy football. This week's in fantasy football. I was number 2 in the rankings, and he's number 1. I've been on a winning streak as of late, and I climbed my way I was in 3rd place, and I climbed my way up to 2nd. And so this was a big game. He was number 1, I was number 2. A big game in the standings here. I had a convincing victory against him, about 40, 50 point victory. Pretty impressive. I would beat any team this week in my fantasy league. Just, putting together a great team, of course. Great coach right here. And I'm in first place in the league, which is phenomenal. I won that regular season championship. But at the same time, we're building character. We're building the team for the playoff run, which is very important as well. Back to Drew Lock. Drew Lock started the game off pretty bad, had an interception. It was just not looking good for him. But that second half that he had was very magical. He, connected on a couple touchdown passes. Got one to Hamler. I don't know who this is. I don't want to pronounce his name. But Drew Lock led Denver back to winning at the last second on a rollout pass to the right and winning the game from him, winning by 1 point, which that catch, kind of like the receiver was like falling backwards. Like it was weird because his butt fell inbounds, which you can get 2 cheeks in. That's considered a catch. And he won. They won the game and 1 by 1, which, Justin Herbert has been playing really good as well. He had a good game, but threw 2 interceptions, which is, you don't want to see that. But 29 for 43, 278, and 3 touchdowns. Even great quarterbacks have a little bit of an off day, but Justin Herbert is still killing it. It's good to see Drew Lock throw 3 touchdowns and get the Denver Broncos a victory. They are 3-4, which is actually, I didn't realize they won 3 games now. They could maybe make a little bit of noise, go on a bit of a run. Their team, I mean, they have a young offense and they got a lot of pieces that can be really good for them, but hopefully they can put something together, especially with how rough their season is going to be with a lot of the injuries that they've had. Something's stinking in my kitchen right now. So it's time to go on a little trash run here. This week's trash run, I'm going to start off with this team because it's not really fair to put them in the trash run just because they are who we thought they were. And I'm talking about the New York Jets. We know the New York Jets are just straight abysmal this season. They don't even want to try to play football in the NFL. Maybe if they had a chance to play in the NCAA, maybe the SEC, maybe we'll see how the team plays. But they are the definition of trash this season. It's a shame. Sam Darnold possibly could be replaced next year, which is, he's actually a promising young quarterback. He just has an incompetent head coach of Adam Gase, who I don't understand how he's still a head coach in the league. And I mean, they obviously are trying to tank. But the Jets are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook. But we're not letting you off the hook, Jets. Also, right now, hold on. You let them off the hook. Also, the Browns stink. Just stink. Right when the Browns think they're a feasible team, a good team, they go out and put up 6 points against the Las Vegas Raiders. This is a good game to continue momentum, to continue to be that good team. A good team, quote unquote. You can't bet on the Cleveland Browns. That's just a dumb thing to do in the year 2020. They are showing flashes. They're like that college girl. They just constantly flash, They don't really show you what you want, but they're just a big tease. Baker Mayfield, 12 for 25, 122 yards. That's not going to get it done. Kareem Hunt, 14 carries for 66 yards. That's not going to get it done. Really, this was really an ugly game. 16-6. Derek Carr, 15 for 24, 112 yards, 1 touchdown. Josh Jacobs with crazy. You got to feed that man. Feed Josh Jacobs as much as possible. When they did, 31 carries for 128 yards. Definitely not a pretty game, but the Raiders did it. They pulled off the victory. But the Cleveland Browns stink. Them and the Chicago Bears are the biggest imposters at 5-3, and they've won 5 games. Don't know how. They could go 5-9 or 5-11. That's the record. Yeah, 5-11 for the rest of the season, and it wouldn't surprise me. And they'll get that not a good draft pick. It'll be a middle of the pack on the draft pick, and they're going to be a middle of the pack team, just mediocre for the rest of their existence. But mediocre is better than stinking for the Jets. For the Browns. Just a terrible team. So yeah, we're going to take all that trash out, and that's all the trash that we got. We'll clean this shit out. All right. So we got our standout players. We had our trash run, right? Oh wait, I think I left something in this trash. Because of my feelings towards this team. Which brings me to the SAT word of the day. You didn't think I forgot this week. We only want to get smarter here, and I'm going to give you it. Antipathy. a feeling of intense dislike. And CJ has a antipathy for the Dallas Cowboys because that team is garbage. That team's fans are garbage. I have a antipathy. I'm already butchering this word like crazy. For Dallas Cowboys fans as well. They are terrible. Just terrible. And it's great that the Cowboys actually stink, which they always stink. But you can smell it even worse this season. Now with the third string quarterback, prayers up for Dak, of course. We don't want to see anything that happen. But the team is just not playing well. Ezekiel Elliott not doing well for them either. They just really have no no hope right now at all. And is it bad that I'm enjoying every bit of it? No, I don't think so. Because me being a Washington football team fan, it's been rough. It's been rough. And finally someone else feeling our pain. And with the sweet victory that we had, not this past week, but the last week, was great. It's great. It's validation. I love it. I love it. The word of the day, antipathy. Use it this week, guys. Find a way to use it in your vocabulary as we use it here on this show. But continue on in this show. Let's talk about some football and let's do some more reviewing, shall we? The first game we're going to review here is going to be Tennessee versus Cincinnati, which was a surprising victory for the Cincinnati Bengals. Did not see this coming. The Titans, I don't know what's going on with him, but Joey Burrow is that man. He is that dude. He is definitely showing hope for the Cincinnati Bengals. Whether or not that defense can be fixed or not, Joey Burrow is putting up points. They have weapons on the offensive side of the ball. They're doing what they can do. Joey Burrow is calm, cool, collected, scrambling around in the pocket, making throws. They might have a squad. I would say about 2 more years, I can see Joey Burrow really making that next step up. Joey had 26 completions with 37 attempts, 249 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Decent running game. Gio 15 carries for 62 yards and a touchdown. And Samaji, is that Samaji? From the Samaji Piron. Okay. Former Washington football team draft pick, and want to say in the 5th round out of Oklahoma. 10 carries for 32 yards and a touchdown as well. So good mix of the running game, pass game there. T. Higgins, 6 catches for 78 yards on my fantasy team. Tyler Boyd, 6 catches, 67 yards. Showing pretty balanced. Who's this? 8-8. Auden Tate from FSU, 7 catches, 65 yards. Adrian Green, 2 catches, 19. Gio Moran, 3 catches, 16. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different receivers Joe Burrow's passing the ball around to. Pretty good. I believe this is one of the first victories or first defeats that the Tennessee Titans have had when Derrick Henry rushes over 100 yards. Someone can fact check me for that one, but not a good performance. 18 for 30 for 233 yards for Ryan Tannehill. As Jonathan would say, you never really know what you're going to get out of the Tennessee Titans. Now, this is 2 wins in a row. They look very impressive the first 5 weeks. Went 5-0. Ran into a hot Steelers team. And no one can blame them. But also picking up a loss to the Cincinnati Bengals is not a good look whatsoever. Not a good look. Next game. Let's go down to Indianapolis versus Detroit. See, this is also one of those games that I didn't know where to call it because Detroit was on a winning streak, but never bet on Detroit. What am I thinking about betting on Detroit? That's a dumb move. But also the Indianapolis Colts has been very inconsistent as well, losing the first week to Jacksonville, which they've been righting that wrong. But Indianapolis put on a clinic. Phillip Rivers, 23 for 33 for 262 and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jay Wilkins, 20 carries for 89 yards, and Jonathan Taylor, which no, it wasn't Jonathan Taylor who made that. It was Wilkins. I think it was Wilkins who had that incredible catch and run for the Colts. Colts are picking up some steam. Their team, I don't know. Like, their defense is legit. Their offense is picking up. So, I mean, they could be a sleeper team, to be quite honest with you. Their division is not very strong. Texans stink. The Jags stink. Who else is in that? The Tennessee Titans. And Tennessee Titans just lost again. So, it's a two-team race right there. I believe both teams are 5-2, so they could be tied. I don't know if Tennessee has any division victories or not. But, I mean, they could win that division. We'll see how they play head-to-head against Tennessee. But, yeah, big victory for the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, Detroit is not Detroit is okay, you know. Like, they got 2 victories in a row, but, I mean, they at the way they've been playing, I mean, they might go 8 wins, which would be a good thing for Matt Patricia. I think right now he has, like, 3 wins this season, which I'm pretty sure is like the most he's had in his last 2 seasons combined, something like that. But yeah, hopefully Detroit can bounce back next week. Probably not, but you know, we're hopeful around here. Moving on to Minnesota versus Green Bay. This game this was the game I watched the majority of throughout on Sunday. And to be quite honest with you, I was kind of shocked. Hey, Green Bay almost did come back in the later half, but couldn't complete the comeback. Dalvin Cook, as we talked about earlier, just was going off on this game, just straight going off. 4 total touchdowns, over 200 yards total yards. He's a man, but also a bad man. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, wasn't as good lethal as he was this week. 27 for 41, 291, and 3 touchdowns. Definitely try to will his team back, but just not their week. Not their week this week, and it's very surprising. Which was another flaw for the Green Bay Packers defense last year. The biggest memory that a lot of people were left with after the last year, where the Green Bay Packers were in the NFC Championship game, but got ransacked by the San Francisco 49ers. Literally just ran it down their throats. And this is exactly what the Minnesota Vikings did. And the Green Bay Packers have to figure out how to fix the rushing defense and stop opposing teams for running the balls down their throat. I mean, 173 yards on the ground they gave up in 3 touchdowns. I mean, that can't happen. Kirk Cousins doing what Kirk Cousins does, just doing enough, and so they don't lose the game. But I mean, Dalvin Cook was a big part of this victory for the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings go 2-5, and Green Bay goes 5-2. So we'll see where Green Bay can go from here. I believe next week. Who do they play next week? Green Bay plays. Hope for dramatic effect. Wait, did they play next week? They already had a bye. Oh, yeah, they play San Francisco. They play San Francisco on Thursday night, actually, which should be an interesting game. Nick Mullins is going to be starting for the 49ers this week after Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. I don't know. I'll do my pick for that game a little bit later after we do the review. All right, so to the next game. Let's talk about Tua Tagovailoa's NFL start. And this game was a weird game. Seeing the highlights from this, Miami's defense stepped up big time. I mean, big time. They definitely is like nurturing and nurturing to the T. And I mean, just really surrounded them. I think they scored on all three phases of football: offense, defense, and special teams. Tua, his debut, 12 for 22, 93 yards and a touchdown. Ran the ball pretty decent, 25 times for about. They only got 55 rushing yards. So offense really didn't do too much, but the defense was playing spectacular, forcing a fumble for a touchdown and picking off Jared Goff twice and a punt return for a touchdown, all in sequence. Um, yeah, I mean the Dolphins are 4-3 right now. Really in the thick of it. I want to say maybe a game or two out of first place. Um, because Patriots stink, Jets stink. So I mean, the Dolphins are in it. If they can get a dub over the Patriots, that's going to solidify it. So they're 4-3. Excited to see if Tua to keep going, get his feet underneath him. He definitely got smacked on the first drive, and I think Forrest got a fumble, lost a fumble as well. But we'll see if he can do more. And super excited. Jared Goff threw the ball 61 times. If Jared Goff throws the ball 61 times, that's not a good recipe for success. Cooper Kupp, though, 11 catches, 110 yards. Pretty good if you got PPR league right there. But yeah, excited for Tua. His brother Tua Tagovailoa got their first big victory this past, I want to say it was Friday night. Maryland beating Minnesota of all teams in overtime 45-44. He threw for about 350, 3 touchdowns, and also rushed for 2 touchdowns. Big game for his little brother. A shout out to Leah playing for the University of Maryland, and to see if they can keep it up. They're 1-1 right now. Going to this game that I watched so much of on the 4 o'clock games, and it was just a god awful game. I mean, it was bad. Nick Foles is trash. The Chicago Bears are the imposters. They stink. Like, they absolutely stink. I don't understand how they have 5 victories this year. And they had a chance to win this goddamn game, but they didn't. It's just incompetent play calling. Nick Foles is streakier than a clean glass. People were calling for Mitchell Trubisky on Twitter, which just sounds crazy, but maybe he could have done better. I don't know. Like, that's the thing is, like, if you catch Nick Foles when he's hot, then he's hot. But it's just when he gets there, it's a struggle. Yeah, I mean, Drew Brees just can't throw the ball past 5 yards. I mean, you just rely on Alvin Kamara, who's been eating and feasting. 9 catches for 96 yards, 12 carries for 67. I mean, he's killing it in fantasy leagues right now. Allen Robinson is the only bright spot, I would say, on that team. 6 catches, 87 yards and a touchdown. Just give him the damn ball, period, and he'll do good things. Taysom Hill had a touchdown this week as well. But, yeah. Also, the big note for this game, I want to say it was Javon Wims. Let me see. He got suspended for 2 games with just a stupid. Excuse me. Just a stupid play. I think it was more of a. Oh wow! Tennessee's releasing Vic Beasley on Wednesday. What happened? He was a promising prospect from Clemson. I gotta find the suspension because it was just so stupid. Like, I get if you're trying to back up your player, but it just, you gotta at least sell that thing a little bit more. Javon Wims just really just giving us CJ Gardner-Johnson a couple pieces, you know what I'm saying, and then just getting ejected, not even caring. But I mean, everyone needs to enforce her, quote unquote. So suspended for 2 games, not too much big of a deal. Fucking idiot, really, in my book. But hey, man, do you, boo boo? Moving on to San Francisco and Seattle. I'm skipping a couple games that we talked about a little bit earlier. We did talk about this game. San Francisco, thing I want to note is that Jimmy Garoppolo is out for about 6 weeks due to high ankle sprain. Also, out is Greg Kittle. Two big losses for them. Nick Mullins will be starting at quarterback next week, who actually came in and didn't play too bad. I mean, I think he had about 2 touchdowns last week when he filled in for Jimmy Garoppolo. CJ Bethel as well. I mean, they got 3 really good quarterbacks, but I mean, at the same time, they're system quarterbacks in Kyle Shanahan's offense, and he makes any quarterback looks phenomenal. I mean, especially when he had Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan he's getting older, but he definitely put up his big numbers in 18 for 25 for 238 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hopefully they can get some running backs back next week. I mean, they run the ball 22 times for 52 yards. That's not a recipe for success. That's not San Francisco 49ers football. They have to be at least 150 yards on an all-around to be more successful. So next week or this week they play against Green Bay, which, hey, it's a rematch of the NFC Championship game, so that should be exciting. Going to Sunday night football. Sunday night football. This game stink. This game stunk. Like, NFC East is it's really hard to watch. I mean, I watch it because, of course, I am a Washington football fan. Dallas it's a shell of a team. Lacks leadership, lacks pretty much anything, any form of teamship, whatever. And Philadelphia didn't look good at first, but I mean, they was able to pull away, but they didn't look great. They kind of played down to the level of Dallas. So what does that say for Philly? They are number 1 in the East right now, but I mean, it's really kind of like who knows? Who knows if my Washington team can squeak a couple victories. They did beat Philadelphia week 1. They play against the Giants this week, so another win this week would be crucial for sure for the standings. We shall see. I mean, NFC East games are not fun to watch, but I watch them anyway because I have to. Game of the week: Pittsburgh versus Baltimore. Are you guys ready for a hot take? Because I mean, I don't think it's much of a hot take anymore, but I could have put him in the trash run this week, but Lamar Jackson is not very good. Or at least this offense is not very good. I just don't see it from Lamar Jackson. They lost 28-24. They had a chance to win the game at the end, but didn't. J.K. Dobbins, 15 carries, 113 yards. Gus Edwards, 16 carries for 87. So run the ball efficiently, which they always do. Willie Snead, 5 catches, 106 yards, no touchdowns. If you would have had the 1 touchdown plus like 130 something, they would have won the game. But I expect so much more from Lamar Jackson in this offense, which I saw something about Lamar Jackson struggling, how Colin Kaepernick struggled in Greg Roman's offense after a couple of years as well. And the thing is, it's just like the offense is not evolving and growing and changing. They're just trying to do the same thing over and over again, which was effective. It was effective when it was effective, right? But now it's not effective. So what you got to do? You got to change it. When they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, but shit broke now. You know what I'm saying? The offense broke. You got to do something to fix this shit. And Lamar Jackson just doesn't look elite. I mean, he won MVP last year, but I mean, look, we know the big soundbite that Lamar Jackson said, oh, not bad for a running back. You're not looking great as a quarterback right now. I just want to see growth. I mean, offensive line is, he got sacked 4 times this week. But also, he tries to do too much. And he doesn't facilitate the ball to his wide receivers. I mean, Mark Andrews is always going to be his big target. He did target Willie Snead 7 times. But, I mean, I think he has some decent weapons to do stuff with. I just think the offense is just stagnant and not good to it just won't carry into the playoffs or long term, to be quite honest with you. I think that Lamar Jackson, he's a decent passer, but I just think he's not as lethal as a quarterback as you want to see him. Of course, he does game-changing things with his feet, but, how long is that going to last for sure? You know what I'm saying? I want to see evolution for that team and progression. I'm not seeing it. And I don't think The biggest weakness for the Baltimore Ravens is when they get behind. Do they have enough to come back? I mean, you've seen that with teams who have good offenses, especially in the playoffs last year against Tennessee, who just a parade of points they put out on them quick and early, and they're just not a team built to come back at all, and especially because they're built to run the ball. And so if their team that they get out a couple splash plays early on, and they just run the ball, run the clock out, and they win games. I mean, they're still 5-2, so they still have a very good record. They will probably be a wild card. I mean, because Pittsburgh is 7-0 right now. So I don't know. I just don't think the Baltimore Ravens are on offense is very good. But plus, Baltimore Ravens are going to be down 7 players this week. So that's going to be tough on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see what they do this week. But hopefully Lamar Jackson can find a new gear and put the team on his back. But also putting the team on his back, we talked about this a little bit earlier, the Chargers versus Denver Broncos. Drew Lock did what he had to do in the second half to come back and get the dub. I mean, not much more I can say there. Monday Night Football. I think I missed the game. There's a game I missed, I want to say. Yes, it is a game I missed. We'll talk about it in a second. Yeah, that's the game I missed. That's the only game I missed. Okay. Monday Night Football, we had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the New York Giants. When this game was way closer than I expected, anyone expected, you expected, your mom expected, your cousin. Like, the Giants had a lead most of the game. The defense was playing well. I mean, you see Tampa Bay with that, very sloppy team. A team that could have so much promise, but then, play down to their talent. I mean, but the Giants' defense is not bad. The Giants' defense is not bad at all. They got some players on that defense side of the ball. But, of course, Tampa Bay, they did what they had to do and came back and got a big dub for them. Because definitely he didn't want to fall into that trap game of losing to the Giants on Monday Night Football. Dave Jones, 25 for 41, 256, 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. Very Daniel Jones game. Also rushing for 20 yards. So who wasn't the leading rusher this week, which is good. Wayne Gallman, 12 carries, 44 yards and touchdown. Tom Brady, 28 completions for the 40 attempts, 279 yards and 2 tutties. Leonard Fournette leading the way with 15 carries, 52 yards. And Ronald Jones, the second, 7 carries for 23 yards, which I think Ronald Jones, he definitely should get more carries, period. I mean, he should be leading back over Leonard Fournette. No disrespect to Leonard Fournette. Gronk getting some contributions, 4 catches, 41 yards, and a tutty. Mike Evans as well, 5 catches, 55 yards, and a tutty. Not the best game for Tampa Bay, but they squeaked out this victory. Big controversial call at the end of the game with Winfield. Was it PI? Was it not PI? You be the judge of that. It looked like PI, but we know Tom has ties, ref ties. Okay, so the game that I missed was Thursday Night Football. We had the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Carolina Panthers in my backyard. Not a good fan if you're a fan of the Carolina Panthers. Teddy Bridgewater got set up, tripped, and then hit in the head, concussion, or thought was a concussion, but did get cleared to come back into the game. Offense didn't produce very well. Teddy Bridgewater, 15 for 23, 176. We did see PJ Walker make a little bit of an appearance, going 1 for 4 for 3 yards. He did have a drop touchdown pass that could have been for him. PJ Walker, the XFL MVP, allegedly, if it would got canceled. Mike Davis, 13 carries, 66 yards there. DJ Moore, 2 catches, 55 yards. Robbie Anderson, 5 catches for 48 yards. The man of the game really was Julio Jones. Early and often, He got the ball, 7 catches and 137 yards, 10 targets. 21 for 30, 281 for the Atlanta Falcons. Todd Gurley continues to be one of the league leaders in rushing touchdowns. Also, Matt Ryan had a rushing touchdown. Just a division game. Not too much about this one. Panthers are a damn tough football team, but a loss right here that could have really kind of kept pushing them forward. But Jonathan told me is that the Carolina Panthers let the Atlanta Falcons win this game because they didn't want them getting a better chance of getting Trevor Lawrence. They're playing chess, not checkers. Shout out Jonathan. But yeah, that's it for the reviews for this past week. Some pretty good games, some games that was pretty shocking and surprising, to be quite honest with you. Really didn't expect the Dolphins to play. Dolphins played a really good, well-balanced football game. We did miss another game. The New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. This was a game for the NFC East, and Buffalo Bills squeaked this one out. Cam Newton, he was in the trash run last week. Fumbled the ball away at the end. You hate to see it. This is a pro Cam Newton show. Could he get benched for Jarrett Stidham? And they kind of just start playing for a better draft position pretty soon. I don't know. Josh Allen has not been playing the MVP football he was playing in the first couple of weeks of the season. 11 for 18, 154 yards and an interception. Not putting up the spectacular numbers. Dustin Singletary, 14 carries for 86 yards. Zach Moss, 14 carries, 81 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So doing pretty well on the ground, which is good. Get the ball out of Josh Allen's hands. But apparently he hasn't been playing well the last couple of weeks. Hopefully he can turn that around and really kind of boost his team back up. But the Buffalo Bills are 6-2. They beat the New England Patriots, which is huge for them in New England as well. So is this Buffalo's division finally? Finally, is this their division? We'll see. They got the Dolphins, and the Dolphins are a sneaky good team, and they always are going to be a team that they're going to play their teams tough down to the end. I like the way they're playing. We'll see how Tua continues to play, but the Patriots stink. Yeah, the Patriots stink. They should be in the trash run, but I was generous this week. So we'll see next week. And if they get another loss next week, you might see them in the trash run next week. So be on the lookout for that. Okay, so now to end this episode off, let's do our Thursday night pick. And then Thursday, we'll do the rest of the week's picks. So we got Green Bay Packers taking on the San Francisco 49ers here. I expect this to be a bounce back game for Aaron Rodgers. Short week for him, losing to Minnesota. San Francisco is down a quarterback and a tight end. So hopefully they should be able to really kind of just reestablish themselves. The big question is, can San Francisco get back a running back this week? That would be crucial for them to kind of help that run game out, especially with how bad that the Green Bay Packers played on defense against the run. We'll see. We shall see. But it is at San Francisco. San Francisco is 1-3 at home this season, and Green Bay Packers are 3-1 on the road. So I am sticking with the trend. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers picking up a victory. I think Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to put on a show, 3 touchdowns this week, which I hope so because that's my quarterback in fantasy. So I'm going for Aaron Rodgers to pick up the victory, 33 to maybe 17. I don't see too many points for him, but I think their running game might be able to squeak around some points just out of respect for Kyle Shanahan and how great of a coach he is. But that is all that I have for you guys today. Thank you for watching this episode. I did it solo dolo today. It was just me. This was fun. Check out the picks on Thursday. More picks on Thursday. It's been a crazy night. It's been a crazy day. Of course, as you know, it's election day. It is Tuesday, so hopefully, you voted and you made an impact on what happens today. And whatever happens, we want to get through this together because it takes all of us. Whether it's COVID, whether it's direction in the country or whatever is going on, it takes all of us. And yeah. And thank you guys for watching this episode. Thank you for hanging out with me, Solo Dolo. Next week, you will have Jonathan back, and we will do this thing again. But Thursday, check out the picks that we got for this weekend. So that's all I got for you. So without further ado, get the hell out of here. Peace.